Hi everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I appreciate you taking some time to listen to this video. I have decided, since I have like 5 or 6 topics, to do them individually because I get sick of hearing my own voice and hearing myself talk, so I don't want to be like going on for an hour and bore people. But the first postpartum video I wanted to do was about anxiety. So again, I said that this was kind of going to be not edited and just kind of like real time. So sorry for the shaking. I have the little babe with me. He's being a little fussy today. So I'm not editing anything. So what I'm saying is just like in the moment type of a thing. But I wanted to cover my anxiety to start. So for postpartum, I thought like, oh no, like I'll be fine. I never really wanted to think anything would be an issue for me. I'm a pretty happy, positive person. Never suffered from anxiety, depression, anything like that. So I'm like, oh, I should be fine. Like it's fine. I noticed that I was very anxious about certain things. So, specifically, when we would go for walks, I think we went the day after we got home. So we went for a walk, and it just was like, it was fine. I was excited to get out, and like, if the weather was nice. But it was like a whole, I'm like, well, I don't want to go far. Well, it's nice out. And my boyfriend was like, well, it's nice out. Like, can't we, like, I don't want to feel like we're under a time crunch. I'm like, well, what if he's like, I don't want to go far. Like, can we go to this certain location and like be able to turn around and like decide from there, like if I'm okay, like continuing. And he is like, everything's fine. Everything's going to be fine. Like, why are you worrying so much? And so, like, that kind of added to me being anxious about certain things. So, we went for the walk, and I just was feeling anxious the further we were getting. And at one point, we got in a little bit of an argument because the baby started crying. It's a boy, Kai. He started crying, and my boyfriend Marcelo took him out of the stroller, was carrying him, and I just was feeling anxious. Like, see, this is what I'm talking about. He's upset, he's crying. Like, we should probably go home. Like, what if he needs a diaper change, or what if he needs to be fed? Like those questions and issues ran through my mind. And my boyfriend was just like, it's fine. Like, I'll rock him. He'll be fine. We'll go back to sleep. And it turned into like kind of an argument because of the way it felt like. It felt like he was dismissing my feelings of concern. And I wasn't explaining myself because I really wasn't sure what was happening with me and like how I was feeling yet. So we continued our walk and we got in like an argument and I started crying. We weren't talking. He's like, so you're just not going to talk to me? I'm like, well, I don't know what you want me to say. And I was like, at that point, I had time in the silence to think about how I felt and like why I felt that way. And I explained it to him like, I'm not comfortable what if we need to change him? I'm not comfortable changing him in the middle of nowhere. What if something is wrong and we're too far away? And like, what if I need to breastfeed in the middle of somewhere where I'm not comfortable? And so I just kind of like explained those things to him. And those things, like changing him would kind of be an issue because we were not by any changing tables or anywhere that you could really change a baby easily. But me breastfeeding in public, I was never really worried about that or thought that it was going to be an issue. And I will breastfeed wherever, whenever, because I don't care. It's natural. And if you have an issue with my boob being out, that's on you. So, like, I knew that really wasn't the issue. As much as my concerns felt like they were just so easily dismissed. So my boyfriend is just like such a positive, easygoing, like go with the flow, everything is on a last minute whim type of a person, and I am not like that. So it just felt like everything was being dismissed, and like my issues and concerns were just like, oh, you're fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. And it just felt like it wasn't valued or like a real issue. So like that is what was bothering me. And instead of being like, oh, you know what, like those are valid concerns, like if he's upset and crying, we can always turn back, like don't worry about it. Or if he needs to be changed, we'll figure it out, we'll stop somewhere and we'll do it. It was always, he'll be fine, we're fine. And those things like were not reassuring answers to me. So they gave me anxiety because I am a planner. I don't like to have to figure things out last minute in a crunch if something is wrong. So me and him are just very different like that. So that was more so the issue than me being able to breastfeed somewhere comfortably, or if he needed a diaper change or whatever the issue may have been. It was just I didn't feel like really heard there. But I did have anxiety going out because of those things and the lack of support that I felt with my concerns, I guess. We also have had, we live in Evanston, and I love that it's diverse, don't get me wrong, but the diversity is concerning. And I mean that in, there are a lot of homeless people and sketchy people over here of all shapes and sizes. And within 3 months, while I was pregnant until right after I had Kai, it just was like things happen. Like the first thing I saw was some man, like not running, but evading the police. And he was like jogging away and he got tased. Literally 3 blocks from where we live. Then, right outside of our apartment, like a couple weeks after that, there were 3 gentlemen outside arguing. 2 of them were arguing. The other one was just trying to be a mediator. And the one got a hammer out and started hitting the other guy in front of our apartment. We don't live in like a terrible area, but in Evanston, most of it is a highly populated, dense area with lots of apartments, condos, townhomes, things like that. So there's a lot of people in a small area. So there's just like all different types of people in the area, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just okay. So that's number two. Then when I have Kai, I go to our local Walgreens and I'm in line. I'm like waiting to get in line, and everyone knows it's mask season, COVID. This one man was not wearing his mask, and the gentleman behind him was like, "Yo, like, could you put your mask on?" And he's like, you want to go outside and fight. I'm like, oh boy. Like, that's the response we're getting here. So, and I have the baby with me, and we walked. So he's in the stroller, and he's like, I'm just saying, could you put your mask on? Like, everyone else has a mask on. Like, you should have your mask on. F you, bro. You want to go in the parking lot and effing fight? F you, man. F you. Turned into this whole escalation. So then I kind of like dipped down an aisle because I'm like, okay, I have a baby. Who knows who has what on them anymore these days? Guns, knives, whatever. I'm not trying to be a part of it. And I just sat there and listened. And then so one of the younger women who worked there was like, sir, you're gonna have to leave. You can't be threatening our customers like that. F you, you goofy hoe. F you. Like, just like a belligerent, angry man. Like, and he was a young dude, like tall, scrawny, but just, I'm like, oh my God, you just never know anymore. So, F you, you goofy hoe, F you, like all this crazy stuff. And I'm with my baby alone, and like I know if something were to happen, like I would go down an aisle, or if something were to happen to where I have to protect my child, I know that I would do it. I've like had to be in a fight or flight situation, not like in a bad way, but and I respond appropriately, but it's just like, oh my God, like what if I have to protect myself? Like I'm not strong, I'm weak. Like what do I do? Like those things give me anxiety. And like now there's 3 instances within like 3 or 4 months, and I'm like, this is why I don't like to go for walks by myself. And like that was the other thing that kind of caused like anxiety, or like I need to get out of the house, like I'm feeling overwhelmed, was like I didn't want to leave the house because I don't feel safe by myself. And you can't really blame me. And, everyone's different. Like, maybe you would feel safe or maybe you wouldn't. And, like, you're on my side here. But me personally, regardless of where you stand, I'm like, I'm just not comfortable. Like, this is why I don't go for long walks. Like, I took him to freaking Walgreens. It's a 5-minute walk. And this guy's like losing his marbles about putting on a mask, like wanting to fight this guy. So it just has been interesting, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So, um, and, and to speak on being overwhelmed, that was like another huge thing. Is like, I felt, I'm going to transition here. Like, I had to, not that I had to do it all, but like, I wanted to be able to do it all. I got offered help, and it's like, for me, it's like, I appreciate it, but I am one to give help, not accept help. And that's how I've always been. So, um, like, if you come over to see my baby and like hang out, like, that's what I want you to do. I don't want you cleaning, helping me clean, do my laundry, picking me, like, you want to stop and get me coffee? Okay, cool. But getting me groceries and like these things, like, you know what I mean? Excuse me. Like, I want you to come over and feel like you're visiting. Um, and it's funny because I would do whatever my friends needed me to do. You need me, I usually always ask, like, do you want coffee? Do you need anything to eat? Do you need me to stop at the grocery store? And it's like, I have no problem doing any of those things. I would never be upset or irritated that someone took me up on that offer. But like, for me to have someone come over and do those things is like hard. Even for my mom. My mom got on her hands and knees and cleaned my stupid floors. And I was like, oh my God. And I just sat here. Granted, I was with like the baby, but I'm just like, ugh. It's just not, I don't like that feeling. Like, I understand help is like great, and like, I need to learn to accept help, but it's just like, I felt very overwhelmed for a long time because I wasn't accepting help, and I was like doing the dishes, making the bed, and it sounds stupid, but like, even be able to get out of the bed, take care of your newborn, like 1, 2, 3 weeks old, and make the bed every day because I hate when it's not made, and then get the laundry in. And I always clean my dishes after I use them. I hate seeing dishes in there. We're in an apartment, we don't have a dishwasher. Like, I hate those things. Like, I like my home to look like I'm in a magazine. And that's just how I am. So it's just like those things, like, I felt like, and I still feel like I want those things done because that's just how I am. And it was very overwhelming at first. And so accepting help has been something I'm learning how to do. Can we take a moment and look at his bald spot from sleeping? He's so cute. But it just was a lot. It's like, oh my God, it's like, it's such a huge adjustment. And like, I felt like I'll be okay. And I wasn't okay for like 3 weeks. And I was like, not very sleep deprived. I did fine. Like, yes, I was tired, but it wasn't anything crazy. Um, it caught up with me. I think it's catching up with me now. I'm more tired. Um, but I think you're like so in love and in awe and like everything, and just like so enamored with like being a new mom, like going through it for me personally. And it just wasn't a bother, and it's still not a bother. I guess that's the wrong word, but like, it didn't affect me in like the sleep deprivation way. But like, now I'm more tired. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna nap when he naps. Whereas before I was, oh, he's napping. Like, I'm gonna clean, I'm gonna do laundry, I'm gonna do all these things so I can make sure everything's the way I like it. But now it's like, things are still the way I like it, but just not necessarily done instantly, or I wait and have help doing them with like when my boyfriend gets home, which is like, obviously that's what he's here for, right? But so I just want you to know I felt like anxious and overwhelmed a lot like the first month. And I guess like people don't really talk about those things. Like, going for a freaking walk gave me anxiety. That's normal. That's not normal to me. Like, who would tell you that? Like, no one tells you those things. Like, being able to make your bed was like, that's like kind of a big deal, to be honest. And no one tells you that. So, yeah, I mean, just if you're feeling those things, like those are normal things. If you're feeling them like in a greater, deeper way, like that's okay and normal too. And I hope you're getting help, and I hope like you're recognizing those things. I think that's like the first thing, because it's hard to recognize how you feel and address how you feel sometimes. So if you have any questions, concerns, you're going through those things or going through something greater, like I'm here for you. Um, I can only begin to understand because of things that I've gone through. Um, and then I've gone through a lot more emotions with like your relationship, which I'm going to touch on in a different short episode, if you want to call it an episode. But that's going to be the next one, is like relationships. Because there's a lot of feelings that went on there. But in regards to just like being a new mom and like my anxiety and my feeling of being overwhelmed, those were like the two things I think that were like big for me that I didn't expect. I think you're going to be adjusting. I just didn't think adjusting would be as hard as it was. But I'm good now. I think every day you adjust a little bit more, and your life just changes overnight. Like women, yes, we're pregnant for 9 months, and your life changes the minute you find out you're pregnant, right? Not that I'm an alcoholic, but I like to drink. I can't freaking drink. And yeah, I've had NA beers, and I did have like a Coors Light here and there. Um, and to each their own. Judge me if you must. But like, you don't get to drink. You don't get, well, my doctor wasn't stricter like by any means, but like eating certain foods some doctors are weird about, or just like going out and seeing your friends, and like that's a whole nother thing, is like your friends, which I'll touch on. And just your whole life changes the minute that you find out you're pregnant. But your whole life changes again once this little bundle of greatness comes into your life, in such a way that like you're really never prepared. I don't think you can be prepared for it. So like you hear people talk about it, but it's just so like, it's still such a shock to the system, even though people are like, oh yeah. And I just feel like people forget. Like, that's why I want to talk about it now, is because people forget. Like, I was telling my mom, like, oh yeah, like my pregnancy symptoms. Pregnancy was super easy for me, and thank God for that. But I'm like, yeah, I was telling her something. She's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So it's like, if you have any questions, concerns, like talk to me. And it's like your mom and their friends, or people who are a little older. And then I don't have a lot of friends that have kids. And I have a couple that recently had kids. So like I would go to them like, hey, like what about this? What about that? Because they still know. Like it was recent for them. But like people who have older kids, or people who like are parents or parents' age or whatever, it's like they forget about these things. So I made a pregnancy journal to write down all this stuff so that I wouldn't forget. And like Kai or his sibling, when we have baby number 2, can like read about it and be like, oh, like these things happen or whatever. Like, like I just don't want to forget that these things happen. And it's just, anyway, I forgot my point there. But if you need anything, I'm here. If you're struggling with like being anxious or anxiety, feeling overwhelmed, it's normal. You'll get through it, even if it feels like, when will I get through it? You will. And it's not to scare any new parents or parents to be or whatever. It's just kind of like the reality of my life and my situation. So I appreciate you listening. I'm trying to keep this as short as possible without rambling, but I just wanted to say, like, anxiety and the feeling of being overwhelmed were huge for me the first 3 weeks. And you adjust and you get used to it. And if you are able to recognize those feelings and what causes those feelings, and communicate those feelings with whoever you're with, Even if you're a single parent and you have support like from parents or friends or whoever, or your spouse or significant other, your partner, like whoever is giving you support, if you're able to communicate that and like figure that out for yourself, and express it and find a solution, I think like that's the biggest thing. So I will conclude there. And again, if you need anything, please feel free to reach out. You can reach out on my Instagram. You can DM me, and I am more than willing to share my phone number. And I think that it's very important for moms to support moms. So, if you have negative things to say about anything I have said, I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, and I respect that. Um, but if you have anything negative to say, like they tell you in kindergarten, keep it to yourself. All right, thank you for listening.